Have you ever heard of a dachshund who saves an entire family from an invisible danger? This is the story of Paco, a little four-legged hero who, with his instinct and courage, prevented a tragedy. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to our channel and activate notifications so you don't miss other incredible stories. It all started in a quiet residential neighborhood in Verona, Italy. Martina and her family had just adopted Paco, a 10-year-old dachshund, from an animal shelter. It wasn't a common choice to adopt a dog so old, but for Martina it was love at first sight. She wanted Paco to live the last years of his life as best as possible, surrounded by the love of a real family. What she didn't know, however, was that it would be Paco who would take care of them. Martina's evening routine was always the same, putting the children to bed, giving a last cuddle to Paco who was sleeping in his kennel in the living room, turning off the lights and going up to the bedroom to enjoy some well-deserved rest. Paco was a sweet dog, and often when Martina came home from work he was waiting for her, wagging his tail happily. The little dachshund's eyes seemed to tell 1,000 stories, as if he knew more than he could express with simple gestures. But that serenity was soon interrupted. One night, Martina was awakened by a sudden noise. Paco was barking furiously, he seemed crazy. She had never seen him so agitated. Worried, she ran down the stairs, turned on the lights and looked around. Nothing. No sign of intruders, no animals in the house. Paco was staring at the window, growling. Martina sighed, convinced that it was just a whim of the dog's advanced age. She petted him to calm him down and went back to sleep. The next night, the dachshund's behavior became even more unusual. Not only did he bark, but he also ran back and forth across the room, as if he were trying to warn her of something. This wasn't just nervousness. Paco knew there was danger. After a week of sleepless nights, Martina decided to install security cameras to figure out what was happening. Her mind made 1,000 hypotheses: mice, the wind moving something, or perhaps a simple reflection of light that was disturbing Paco. The reality, however, would be much more disturbing. Martina could not imagine that danger lurked within the walls of her own home. Those sleepless nights were taking their toll. She was more tired, nervous, and even her children seemed to sense her anxiety. It wasn't just fear, but a growing sense of insecurity. The next morning, with her heart in her throat, she woke up early and ran to watch the recordings. At first, everything seemed normal. Then, suddenly, something caught her attention. In the video, shadows could be seen moving in the house. Martina held her breath. Someone was in there with them. Her blood ran cold. She ran upstairs, woke the children and ran out of the house to ask the neighbors for help. The images were unmistakable: a man moving furtively around the living room, pausing every now and then as if to listen. Then, without making a sound, he disappeared around a corner of the house. The idea that a stranger had entered their home during the night terrified her. The neighbors, shocked by her story, immediately called the police. While they waited, Martina held her children trembling, but a question pierced her heart: where is Paco? The little dachshund had remained inside the house. Police sirens pierced the silence of the night. The officers burst into the house and, moments later, dragged a man out. Martina looked at him in horror. He was huge and enraged. Paco had barked so much that he had drawn attention to him, preventing him from hiding. One of the officers stopped in front of Martina to explain the situation. We have been receiving reports about this individual for days. He is a wanted criminal who was hiding in houses to evade capture. Fortunately, your dog made his plan impossible. Shortly afterward, a policeman came out of the house with Paco in his arms. The little dachshund was still growling and barking at the intruder. Martina took him in her arms, holding him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "He's our hero," she whispered. That night, Martina couldn't sleep a wink. Fear for what had happened, gratitude for Paco, and the knowledge of how important her family's safety was kept her awake. She decided that she would never ignore the signals of her faithful friend again. The officers explained that the man was a wanted criminal. To escape the police, he had secretly slipped into the houses of the neighborhood, and Martinez had become his hiding place. No one had noticed his presence, no one except Paco. If it hadn't been for him, that night could have turned into a nightmare. From that day on, Paco became even more special to the family. Martina decided to give him a gift, a new bed and a collar with Hero engraved on it. Everywhere they went, people recognized the little dachshund and gave him cuddles and smiles. After that episode, Martina's life changed. Not only because of the fear, but also because of the awareness of how special Paco had been. She began to take him with her everywhere, to give him even more attention and to tell his story to anyone who would listen. Paco became a real celebrity in the neighborhood, and everyone became even more fond of him. News of Paco's heroism quickly spread throughout the neighborhood and beyond. Local newspapers and television stations gave the story plenty of coverage, turning the little dachshund into a local celebrity. Martina and her family were invited to television programs and radio interviews, where they emotionally told Paco's story and how his instincts had saved their lives. Paco, for his part, seemed to appreciate the attention. He enjoyed the caresses and compliments, wagging his tail happily every time someone recognized him on the street. Martina decided to create a little corner dedicated to Paco in the house, with a bulletin board full of photos, newspaper articles and drawings made by the children of the neighborhood. Every day, someone stopped in front of Martina's house to say hello to Paco and take a picture with him. But Paco's fame was not limited to the neighborhood. The Volunteer Association of the shelter from which Martina had adopted Paco received numerous calls from people who wanted to adopt older dogs. Paco's story had touched the hearts of many, proving that even the oldest dogs can be heroes and bring so much joy to families. Martina began to collaborate with the association, participating in charity events and awareness campaigns on the importance of adopting older dogs. Paco became the symbol of these initiatives, demonstrating that age is not a limit for love and loyalty. One day, Martina received a phone call from a National Animal Protection Association. They wanted to give Paco a special award for his courage and his contribution to raising awareness about the adoption of older dogs. The award ceremony was held in a large theater, with local and national authorities, journalists, and animal lovers in attendance. Paco, elegantly dressed in a bow tie, went on stage with Martina and received a gold medal and a certificate of recognition. The audience applauded warmly, moved by the story of this little four-legged hero. Martina, with shining eyes, thanked everyone for their support and dedicated the award to all the senior dogs waiting for a second chance. After the ceremony, Paco became a true ambassador for senior animals. His image was used in advertising campaigns and posters to promote adoption,